I agree. Talking to Jordan Cruz from Country Roads Webcast. You can sub him up on YouTube, but you also can find his podcast, Country Road Podcast, on just about every streaming platform out there, isn't it? It's I know it's on. I know it's on Apple and Spotify and iHeart. So yeah, you can find him just about on any of them. All right. So now that brings us to the running backs. Now in running back situation, we're deep. We're still deep. We lost Tony Mathis. That's a tough loss. And it's even tougher knowing that we lost him to Houston and going to have to face him down in Houston this year. But our running back room is really solid. CJ Donaldson is a man. I mean, we know this. He's a beast and he's a man. And, you know, I'm excited for this year to see CJ Donaldson. I've not been this excited about a running back in a long time. I really am really excited about it. But tell us about our depth. What you're seeing. Can this offensive line open up some holes for these guys? And, we end up with a couple of 1,000-yard rushers because I think we've got the talent back there to do that.
Listen, Joey, I wouldn't disagree with you there. I think that there's some really great running backs in this West Virginia roster. You lose Tony Mathis, who has been a former starter in the past, and I think that just kind of showcases how deep this running back room is. The fact that a former starter kind of was the de facto odd man out, and I think that he'll do a great job at Houston, and I hate that he's going in conference, as you said, and we'll have to face him. But as far as the West Virginia running back room is concerned, of course, C.J. Donaldson is the name that really is on the forefront of the minds of Mountaineer Nation. After his impressive season last year as a true freshman, really just doing some awesome things, as we thought he was going to come in as a tight end / wide receiver kind of hybrid player, but they ultimately move him into running back and makes a splash in that first game against Pitt, 7 carries, 125 yards, and then goes on to have a really successful true freshman season despite battling some injuries. But I think along with that, you're going to get a really impressive version of him this upcoming season that I think has a great chance to be one of the best backs in the Big 12, if not nationally, because of the fact that he had never played running back before last season, right? A lot of people forget that he came as a, like I said, tight end wide receiver hybrid, playing wide receiver in high school, thought he was going to play tight end for the Mountaineers, had never played running back ever throughout his entire football career. And that's what's even more impressive about what he did last season. But I think having an entire offseason to train as a running back is only going to benefit him. And, as much as we hated to see him suffer that injury last season, you've heard, through interviews of his own from Country Roads Trust and such that he's gave throughout the offseason, that those injuries really, he learned a lot from them of how to, go about playing the running back position. And hopefully he's going to be able to stay healthy this season, because that's the only thing that we're really concerned about with his playing style, kind of being a strong battering ram. Despite being deceptively fast, he's a 6'2", 240-pound beast back there at the running back position. So certainly he's probably going to be the number one featured guy. But to me, the guy that I've been talking about a ton, that I've been trying to get over on people on the Country Roads webcast, is Jalen Anderson. Excuse me, it's my dog barks in the background. I don't know if my mic's picking that up or not, but Jalen Anderson is the guy that's a redshirt sophomore coming up this upcoming season for the Mountaineers. Came in late during his true freshman season, didn't get on campus till late September, maybe even early October, so didn't really factor in too much as a true freshman, ended up having a redshirt, but late last season, we really saw him burst onto the scene in that game against Oklahoma State, 250-plus yard touchdown runs, and he has just really exceptional vision in the backfield. You've heard compliments of that throughout the offseason. I know recently in a live stream over on the Country Roads Webcast YouTube channel, I shared a clip from Chad Scott from a Sportsline episode where he was asked about the one player that he thought was really standout and could be a breakout this season that people aren't talking about enough. And with no hesitation, he mentioned Jalen Anderson, mentioned his vision, complimented that, and just how much of an improvement he has made from last year to this year already. So to me, I think C.J. Donaldson and Jalen Anderson are going to be featured prominently in the WVU backfield. I think you're going to see a lot of two-back sets. And I think the reason that is going to be the case is because both of those guys, as I mentioned earlier with C.J. Donaldson, was a wide receiver in high school, so we know of his pass catching abilities. But Jalen Anderson as well, another thing that Chad Scott mentioned in that interview was that he could have almost been listed as an athlete recruit instead of a running back because of how much he was split out at receiver in his time at high school there in Ohio. I believe he comes from Perry, Ohio. But he's another guy, kind of similar build to CJ Donaldson, but I would argue more fast and even better vision, but can catch the ball just as well and split out as well. So you could come out with a two-back set with Donaldson and Anderson kind of as your base to start the drive, and then, get a couple plays under your belt, go no huddle, and you could split either one or both of those out and bring in either one of your two backups, Justin Johnson, Jaheim White, who we already have seen on campus. We know of Justin Johnson, seen him in the past, very talented player. I think he has some really highlight moments already throughout his career, and coming into his junior year, hopefully we really see even more from him. But then you talk about two true freshmen that could factor into the mix as well. Jaheim White, who we saw in the spring, had the standout performance among the West Virginia running backs in the spring game, actually led the team in rushing. And that's a guy that I've been talking about since signing day back in early December, when I was watching the signing day show there that WVU Sports puts out, and Jed Drenning compared Jaheim White to Steve Slayton. So that's high praise. But coming from a guy like Jed Drenning, he's not going to just put that on anyone. Jed is really methodical about his compliments and the things that he gives. So when he said that, my ears perked up, and I've been kind of watching Jaheim White ever since. And throughout the spring, he stood out in some scrimmages. And then there in the spring game, we saw him kind of make the most plays at the running back position, really had the most explosive runs. And I think he's going to bring something to the West Virginia running back position we haven't had since the days of those guys, Noel Devine, Steve Slayton, etc. Those home run hitters, those explosive type players at that position. And then we still have DJ Oliver that we're going to add to the mix here in the coming weeks before fall camp. That's a bigger body, kind of along the lines of Jalen Anderson and CJ Donaldson, but he's actually probably faster than both of those guys. He's a huge body that has, 4.4, 4.5 speed. So I think West Virginia super deep at the running back position, and people that are saying that the run will be the focus of this offense probably aren't wrong. I think it'll still be close to 50-50, but these running backs are going to be involved. And not only are they going to be involved getting handoffs, but they're going to be involved in the passing game, especially when you look at guys like CJ Donaldson and Jalen Anderson. So I'm super excited for this deep West Virginia running back room that's going to be the best in quite some time at